when your car breaks down, again, I know we're not cars, I know we're not cell phones, but when your car breaks down, you go to the mechanic. When you're having knee problems, you go see someone who has studied the knee. You go to a physical therapist, a doctor. I think we just personalize it when it comes to, well, I should know myself better than anybody else. I'm not saying these people know you any better than you, but they do understand what's happening maybe better than we do because we haven't experienced it.
Welcome to Vulnerability Muscle, the inspiring podcast challenging norms and helping you redefine vulnerability as a strength. I'm your host, Reggie D. Ford. Each episode of Vulnerability Muscle dives into a variety of topics such as mental health, social issues, and mindset shifts. We explore the power of vulnerability and fostering meaningful connections, healing, building resilience, and promoting personal growth. Sometimes these conversations are uncomfortable, but good workouts often are. So join us and flex that vulnerability muscle. Welcome to this episode of Vulnerability Muscle. I'm your host, Reggie D. Ford. Vulnerability Muscle, where we use our vulnerability as a strength to connect, to heal, to grow. And today I have an amazing guest, Kevin Palmieri. Kevin is the founder and co-host of the Next Level University podcast. Early in his life, Kevin found success, in quotation marks, but after a brush with near suicide, he realized he wasn't living a life he truly wanted. He became passionate about self-improvement and decided to make it his purpose in life to impact as many people as possible by becoming a role model podcaster and speaker. He has succeeded to make his podcast one of the top 100 with almost 1,900 episodes and 1 million listeners in over 170 countries. Wow. He has taken his life to the next level and achieved both personal and professional success. Welcome, Kevin. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, Reggie. I appreciate the kind words. I appreciate the powerful introduction, and I appreciate what you're doing in the world, my friend.
Well, I appreciate you, and I'm thankful that we get this time together. I just hearing your story, it reminds me so much of my own, as I was mentioning earlier, of achieving success in the traditional sense, but feeling unfulfilled with life. And so I'm super excited to learn more about your story. And we're gonna touch on the power of the compound effect, which I think is really cool. But
Nice.
before we get into that, I have a couple of softball questions that I'll ask, and it's the first thing that comes to mind. Okay,
Okay.
what comes to mind, Kevin, when you hear the word vulnerability?
Strength.
That's dope. What do you do to center yourself or ground yourself if you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, or maybe even depressed?
Usually I look at old content.
Oh,
We have
interesting.
so much content. It's easy for me to look back 5 years ago and see how much worse things were then than they are today. So I
Mm.
reflect for perspective.
Ooh, I like that. I like that perspective take because it's hard to see when you look at yesterday. It's like,
Mhm.
no, I haven't grown that much since yesterday. But when you look at the journey, when you look at, I always tell people, think about the 10-year-old, right? And how proud that 10-year-old would be of you and where you are in your
Yep.
life right now. And like, it's amazing. So I love that. I love that
Appreciate it. I
answer.
appreciate that.
Yeah. What is one of your favorite childhood memories?
One of my favorite. My friends and I rode our bikes and our scooters down the biggest hill in our town.
Mm.
And it is I mean, this hill should be illegal for how big it is. I mean, it is
Where is
massive.
this in the world?
It is in Uxbridge, Massachusetts.
Okay.
So yeah, just bombing down that hill with zero cares and zero regard for safety. I'm afraid I'm gonna roll my ankle when I walk outside now, so I'm not doing any more reckless stuff. So that's a good memory for me.
I love it. It brought me back to and it's not even near this hill, I can already tell you that, but it's a sizable hill that we used to ride down, and I had this cousin who we were on bikes. You know, when you're smaller, you don't have the weight to, like, really, have that bike secure, and her bike started to shake, and
Mm,
she flipped over, and still to this day has, like, a big old scar on her chin from where she hit the ground, and
man.
oh, so I can only imagine what that hill was like.
It was reckless, but yeah, you get the speed wobbles. Everything's over after that.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you lose total control.
Mhm. Mhm.
Oh man. So Kevin, I mean, one, the voice, the setup, the podcast, the university, I think it's all very amazing. But can you set me up going back? Like set me up with what life looked like building up to what you deemed success or what society may have deemed success.
Yeah, so I was raised by my mom and my grandmother. I didn't know my dad. I didn't meet my dad until I was 27 with the understanding that he was my dad, and happy to get into that if we want to dive into that. Lower middle class, didn't have a lot of money. I recall often hearing or overhearing how we were going to figure out how to pay rent. So
Mhm.
that was fairly normal. Outside of that, again, bombing my bicycle down hills with my friends, all other stuff was fairly normal. Where things really started to get weird for me was in high school. I decided pretty early on, maybe freshman year, that I was not going to go to college. And that was something I didn't want to go pay $25,000 a year for somebody to help me figure out what I wanted to do with my life.
Mhm. Yeah.
It didn't make sense to me. So I started training mixed martial arts in high school.
Nice.
And my goal was to be a professional fighter. That's what I was going to do. I was like, I'm going to be a professional fighter. UFC was popping off. Like, that's what we're going to do. So I got a job at a local gas station and I trained martial. I worked 6 a.m. till 2 p.m. I went to the gym and lifted for 2 hours, and then I went and trained martial arts. And that was my life for like a couple of years.
Wow.
Tore my shoulder, had to go get surgery. I was like, interesting. Maybe I should try to figure out a plan B. Maybe this college thing not going was a mistake. It was a big lesson at the time. So after that, I just kind of jumped from job to job to job. So I worked at a gas station. I was a personal trainer, truck driver, forklift operator, construction, tiling. I worked at a butcher shop. I did HVAC,
Wow.
a bunch of different stuff.
Yeah.
Eventually, Reggie, I got a job in an industry called weatherization. And I went from making $15 an hour doing construction to $50 an hour
Let's go.
doing this new
Okay.
job. And that's what I was saying, Reggie. I was like, this is it. I did it. So if you fast forward a few years, I am
What
20.
is weatherization?
It's a great question. If you've ever had anybody come into your home and go up in your attic and like spray insulation, or people do blown in insulation in the walls,
Mhm.
or weather stripping around your windows, caulking around your windows, that's weatherization.
Okay. Okay.
So I think I'm 24 at the time. At this point, I'm getting ready to compete in a bodybuilding show. So I'm quite literally in the best shape I will ever be in. My girlfriend at the time is a model. I have this high paying job. I have a brand new Subaru WRX, my dream car, loud exhaust, just driving around the neighborhood, wreaking havoc. Great friends, new apartment. From the outside looking in, I was quote unquote successful. Internally, super insecure, super self
Mhm.
conscious, depressed, anxious, no self belief, no self worth.
Mm.
I have no idea how I even got to where I am today.
Wow. Wow.
So things kind of start to fall apart. So my girlfriend ends up leaving me.
Mm.
I was so depressed. I was so anxious. I was so afraid of my own shadow. She did the right thing. It was very hard for me to pour into her life when I could barely keep myself afloat.
Mm.
And she said something to me that I'll never forget that really defined where I was at that time. She said, I was going to leave you last month, but I was afraid if I did, you might kill yourself. And I remember thinking, and she wasn't saying that from like it wasn't a negative,
Right.
you're
Guilt,
the
like
worst.
anything. Yeah.
No, it wasn't that. But I remember sitting there at the table thinking, how the hell did I get here?
Mm.
How did we get here from the seeming peak that we just were at? Like, what happened?
Mm.
Work slowed down. She left, so my bills doubled.
Yeah.
I am definitely dealing with a mild eating disorder from my bodybuilding show at this point. So everything was just bad.
Mm.
That was my initial rock bottom.
Mm. Wow.
Landlord came to me one day, Reggie. My landlord came and said, "Hey, I'm taking your ex to court." And I said, "No, no, 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 no. We don't have to do that. I'll figure out a way to make this work. I will never miss a payment. You won't even know."
Yeah.
So I thought, well, here we go. This is another time where I think money is going to solve my problems.
Mhm.
So that next year starts, I grind my face off. I spend 10 months living on the road because all of our contracts were in other states and I'm just all over the place. I made $100,000 at 26 with no college degree, thinking that everything was going to, this is it. I did it. I'm successful. and remember thinking that nothing feels different other than my bank account.
Yep. Because money only solves money problems.
Money solves money problems. Yeah. I don't know if
Mm,
there's anything that can solve money problems as well as money, but the rest of the stuff you got to figure out kind of on your
so
own,
true. Can
right?
I there's there's so many similarities
I
in
believe
our
it.
stories. Wow. Like when you said that, I grabbed my phone because one of the very first, I guess, posts or versions of me being publicly vulnerable was in a post that I made years ago, where I took a it was an old photo of my body, built up. I played football and like worked out and all that stuff, and I put vulnerable post under it. It was a thirst trap, right? But the caption was where the meat was of my vulnerability, where at that point in time, I felt that I was in the quote unquote best shape of my life, probably externally physically, but internally I had, like, we can go from foot to let's go from the foot. So plantar fasciitis, terrible shin splints and knee pain, back spasms, hip injuries, and chronic tension headaches, all of these things, high blood pressure, leading to high cholesterol. All of these things were going on, and
Mm,
I was deeply insecure.
of
I
course.
was mistreating people that I claimed to love. I didn't trust anyone, and all of these things were just underneath the surface of what people deem success or the best shape or all of those things. And so I just wanted to point that out, that, like, oh man, like, just connecting with you on that. Wow.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us go through a similar journey, and not everybody either wants to or is ready to talk about it or thinks it'll be worth it. I think that's a really people will say like, "Thank you so much for being vulnerable." I want to. I want to.
Right.
This fulfills me. This fills me up. I heard a great quote one time. I don't know who said it. I can't give them credit because I don't know who it was, but they said, "When you're being vulnerable, you share scars, not open wounds." It's like, ooh,
Mm.
ooh,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
powerful is that? So if my wife and I just had a big fight, am I going to come on here and talk about all the lessons I've learned from it? Probably not. I'm going to wait till
No.
that heals up,
Time.
and I
Time
right.
and yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait on that. Here's the hard part. Life got much worse after that. Like that
Yeah.
was kind of another high point in what was a dark time. I had a moment where I thought, okay, I thought this money was going to fix all my problems. For most of my life, I have lived unconsciously. I'm coming to terms with the fact that I'm just living unconsciously. The opposite of unconscious is hyperconscious.
Mhm.
I'm going to do what any man in his mid 20s would do. I'm going to start a podcast about that. That's what I need to do. So I started a podcast called the Hyperconscious Podcast. Fell in love with podcasting, just like you, I'm sure. But Reggie, as you know, in the beginning, there isn't exactly a line out the door of people saying, Reggie, this is a great idea. How much
Yeah.
money do you need so you could do this full time and bring your mission to the world?
Right.
Doesn't really exist. So I had to keep going to this job that I started to loathe my job. I didn't want to travel. I didn't care about the money. I wanted to be home. I realized that job was all about money. That's what I was getting there. So I start calling out of work. I start leaving job sites early, showing up late. I'm getting more depressed, more anxious. I'm homesick before I even leave when I'm packing my bags. And eventually, this all culminated in what I would consider my rock bottom basement moment. I woke up in a hotel room in New Jersey. I was there for work that week. It was 6 hours from where I lived at the time. Alarm clock went off at 5 o'clock, 5:15. Sat up, slid to the edge of the bed, lacing up my work boots. Done this 1,000 times. That morning, it felt like there was 10 televisions on in my head at the same time,
Mm.
and every single one was on a different station.
Mm.
You're stuck here. You got lucky to get here. You'll never get another job like this again. If you ever left, what would your friends think? If you ever left, what would your family think? And the loudest, potentially most logical one was, do you really think you're going to be a podcaster? We're going to leave this and we're going to go be a podcaster.
Yeah.
And in that moment, Reggie, I thought to myself, well, if I was just to take my life, I would take all my problems with me.
Mm.
And that was my rock bottom basement. It does not get much lower than that. But the whole point of the story is I had someone in my life that I felt safe being vulnerable with. I reached out to him. I expressed my feelings. I told him what I was going through. He gave me a new perspective, a perspective shift, some tactics, support, feeling seen, feeling like I belonged.
Yes.
Ended up leaving that job 3 or 4 months later. And then I went into business with that person. And he's now the co host and the co founder of this amazing thing we have going on.
Wow.
And now here we are, whatever it is, 7 years
Yeah.
later. And we've worked through a lot of that stuff. And we talk so much about being vulnerable, especially as men. And I
Yes.
cry on the podcast all the time. So it's been a
Yeah.
very interesting journey of no expectation of external success, more external success than I ever thought I would have, trading all of that in, but actually feeling fulfilled,
Yes.
and now having external quote unquote success, but more importantly, honestly, is internal fulfillment
The
and
fulfillment. Absolutely.
belonging and feeling like everything I'm doing is greater than me. I think that's a really important thing.
Yes, that transcendence is so important in our ultimate, like to achieve what I feel is human. The ultimate goal for humans is to for this all to mean something more than me showing up to a job, than me getting on this mic, than me standing in front of a crowd and talking. It has to mean more than that for us to
Yeah.
truly feel the ultimate fulfillment that we are destined for. And oh man, what you share, I think it's important. You shared a couple things. So what you shared about when we are vulnerable, when you are vulnerable, it's sharing scars, not open wounds. And I think that's a very critical piece, because after I share and pour out my heart, these are often things from the past.
Mhm.
And sometimes distant past, sometimes some time that I've had to process and understand. This is not the fight that I just got into. This is not the argument that I'm currently in, or the hardest thing that I'm currently going through. And I think that is important for people to recognize when being vulnerable is like, you have to take time to process and integrate those things and make meaning of those things before you get out, because that's where the trauma dumping comes in. That's where like you lose yourself in the expression of that vulnerability
Yeah.
when that hasn't been the process.
Yeah.
Another thing you pointed out was you called somebody.
Mm.
Like in that dark moment, you knew that there was somebody out there that you felt safe with, that you could then be vulnerable with. And I love that it was a man. Honestly, I really do. I love that it was a man that you felt that safety with and opened up, and that there was support on the other side of that. Because I say, like, vulnerability, it's our biggest, some of our biggest fears around vulnerability is that you're going to use whatever I say against me, or you're going to stab me in the back. You're not a safe person. It's going to be used like there's fear there.
Yeah.
And so you need that safety. You need that psychological safety to be able to open up, to truly get the help and progress through. So as people listening out there, like if you're hearing a message of just go be vulnerable, it's not that. It's do it on your terms, one, and do it with safe community, but there is also so much healing in it when you do find those things and they come together. And like Kevin, so like keep it going. Like, so you guys partnered up and you started this thing. What was that like? Like just jumping out
Oh
on
man.
faith.
Well, I remember the day I left my job, I had a giant weight lifted off of my shoulders, but an even bigger one put on. But for like 20 minutes, it felt really good. It was like,
Yeah.
oh, I haven't really been without a job since I was like 16. I mean, I've had
Right.
bouts, but I'm not going back to a job. I'm gonna try to make
Mm,
this work. So it was really exciting. I was very naive and ignorant. So I think I was probably more excited than I probably should have been. But it felt, yeah, it made me feel like a kid again. It's like
yeah.
I'm doing something so different than I ever expected to do. That felt really good. It felt really good. I would love to add to something. Oftentimes, I'll tell the story and people will say, "How were you so vulnerable to reach out to Alan?" I
Yeah.
wasn't. There was very little vulnerability involved because him and I had such a deep relationship at that point.
Mm,
So the advice I always try to give when it comes to vulnerability is, if you're listening to this episode right now and life is going amazing, first of all, awesome. I'm so happy and I'm grateful that's the experience you're having. Right now is the time to practice being vulnerable.
yes.
Because if you wait till the thunderstorm to build the umbrella, you're going to get wet. And
Mhm.
luckily for me, I already had the umbrella. I had the umbrella relationship with Alan. It was the next logical step to reach out to him,
Yeah.
but it was so much of the work that led up to that. So I
Mhm.
always like to throw that out because I don't
Yeah.
number 1, I don't want any credit I don't deserve. So it's not like it was this Herculean effort for me to reach out to him. So much of that relationship, so much of that safety, so much of that psychological safety as you spoke about, that was built over the last few years, not
Yes.
minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I love that. Like so, I'm my rock bottom moment. I wanna talk about because we asked the same question, which I just again the similarities in the parallels. I was I had went to school and got a degree in economics and like I'm gonna study I'm gonna be a business owner doing something entrepreneurial. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I go out and I study economics. I get to the end of my college career. I was a student athlete too, so I played a little football and I don't know what I'm gonna do after school. So guess what? I go back to school. I go back to school, and that was the first time where I actually had to pay some money for it, which luckily it ended up not being that much, but got a master's degree in accounting and actually had a profession that I could walk into and did transition from the accounting and external auditing route to wealth management. And wealth management, like what is this? Like I'm coming from poverty, I don't know anything about this world, but it is fulfilling to know that I'm learning skills that I can then help other people with. And I start a company doing that work. And, in the matter of the earlier phases of that company, I'm getting nominations for Forbes 30 under 30, interviewed by them and I'm talking to the Nashville Business Journal and all these great things and I'm absolutely miserable.
Mm,
I'm responding to congratulation messages on my phone and I'm laying on the floor and I'm crying and I'm bawling and I love the descriptive way that you said it was like 10 TVs on and they were on full blast and they were on different channels and I'm hearing all of these voices in my head, voices from the past. I've lost so many people at this point in life. My grief is through the roof and I have this out of body experience in that moment where I ask myself, how in the world did you end up right here?
mm,
Right? I felt like I had done all the things right. I checked the boxes. I became successful, and yet I was miserable. And my vulnerability ended up, because leading up to that, I hadn't slept in, virtually 30 days. And I was like, I need to sleep. I
mm,
cried a lot that night. I laughed a lot that night. I was all over the place, but I got some sleep and I went to professionals. I didn't know, like, there were some people in my life that I could be vulnerable with, but like, I wasn't at that level yet. And I somehow trusted the professional relationship, my doctor, grief counselor, therapist. I had never gone to a therapist before that, but I
mm.
was like, I need some help. And that was the big shift in my life was saying, I need some help. So, yeah, I
Yeah,
like what you said
I
about
appreciate it.
building up to that moment.
We all need help. We all need help. I just think it's way easier to personalize. Like when your car breaks down, again, I know we're not cars, I know we're not cell phones, I know, but when your car breaks down, you go to the mechanic.
Yeah.
When you're having knee problems, you go see someone who has studied the knee.
Yeah.
You go to a physical therapist, a doctor. I think we just personalize it when it comes to, well, I should know myself better than anybody else. I'm not saying these people know you any better than you, but they do understand what's happening maybe better than we do because we haven't experienced it, we haven't researched it. So, but I understand I think the stigma is less than it's ever been because of awesome conversations like this
Yeah.
and people like you who are doing this work out there. But
Yeah.
I understand why it's challenging. I do. I get it.
Yeah, definitely. We totally do. And y'all too, like like I mean 1900 episodes is amazing.
I
Like
appreciate it.
I'm like, wow, I'm sitting here at what, maybe around 50 and I'm like, damn, the amount of consistency that it takes to push out that many episodes. Like tell me about that and how that relates maybe to the compound effect that yeah.
When we started with like everybody else. We were okay, we're gonna do an episode a week. Then eventually it's like this is my full-time job essentially. So I'm broke. I'm not making any money. So let's just do another episode. I love podcasting. And it just kept going from there. We went to 3 episodes a week and then 4 episodes a week. And then we kind of had a company that was running. So it was like, okay, 5. Then we hired a team. And I think for the last like 1,400 days or something, I don't know what it is, we've done an episode every day. So now
Wow.
we do 7 episodes a week.
Wow.
And but this is the wild thing. One, if we didn't make it to 100, we never would have made it to 2. That's one piece. The second piece is we still haven't accomplished what we set out to accomplish. 2,000 episodes. So we're at 2,040 as of today. Two,
Nice. Let's
two,
go.
2040 is great, but all it is a byproduct of a bigger goal that hasn't been accomplished yet.
Mhm.
So we never said we're going to make it to 2000. That was never the goal. It was we want to have the most successful self-improvement company on the planet. Like
Yeah.
that's what I aspire to. I would love to do that. That would be amazing.
Mm.
But I think what has really helped us with compounding is for the vast majority of the time, after every episode, we would do most important win, most important improvement.
Mm.
What went well? What didn't go well? Okay, cool. And then we also paired that with prep, rep, reflect, perfect. Prep before every episode. I researched Reggie. I saw one of the Reggie's pictures looking jacked. I said, "All right, cool. Somebody's active." On stage in a nice suit. All right, cool. Speaks to cool humans. All about vulnerability. Awesome. Cool. Research. So prep, rep. Right now we're doing the rep. I'm doing my best, add value. Cool. Reflect. When this episode drops, in theory, I should go listen to the whole thing, say, this is what I did well, this is what I didn't, and then perfect. Let me take those lessons and make
Mm.
sure I don't make the same mistakes, make sure I get a little bit better. All right, cool.
Yeah.
We throw that in there. And I think the whole journey for us has been start with something that's sustainable, do that thing consistently, improve that thing consistently, and then there's a new opportunity for something that's now sustainable. One
Wow.
episode a week was sustainable. We improved, we did it consistently, rinse and repeat that. And now we get more listens in one day than we did the first year. We make more money in 1 month than we did the first 3 years.
Mm.
But that's just because we kept going. And it's because most of the results come later in time as they compound. I'm sure we've all, and I know you have, I'm certain because you were in finance, but I'm sure you've heard the magic penny.
Yeah.
A penny
Double
that
that penny.
doubles,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't seem like it is going to add up to almost anything, but I think it's what, 10 million, 10.3 million or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've been very blessed to have as much compounding payoff, but I have to give my business partner all of the credit in understanding the compound effect because he's an engineer and a math thinker. So he introduced me to the compound effect. I read the book. I didn't know anything about it. So I have to give all due credit to him for helping me understand it.
Yes, and I wanna illustrate the compound effect with
Please.
what you were saying with the penny. So if you're listening and you have your phone or calculator nearby, and I'm gonna do it right in front of you all, but I want you to put in the calculator 0.01 and then just multiply by 2. And so we're gonna do this for a month, 30 days, right? So that's a penny. It starts at a penny. When you double it, 2 pennies. Need to do it again. So this is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We've done it for 10 days, right? That's 10.24 cents. Keep going. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That's 10,485. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. 10,737,418 and 20 cents. So the power of one penny doubled every day for 30 days turns into that. And that's what he's talking about. He's talking about that consistent effort. And I love what you said about what is sustainable for you. It
Yes.
may be one a week, it may be one a month, but like what is sustainable that keeps relevance in life and in people's faces or in your own face and has impact that you can continue to do. And I think one important part to that is do it. Like, do it. Like, I have so many people in my life that have brilliant ideas, and want to do a lot of things and talk about a lot of things. And I think like we got to get from talk to just doing and executing. And it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Like I'm sure your setup did not look like what it looks like now on episode
No,
1.
no.
And the like you said, the money wasn't what it was, the viewers weren't, or the listeners weren't what they were, but you have to start somewhere. And so I think that is so important. That's amazing.
It takes so much humility, Reggie, to start embarrassingly small.
Yeah.
I think we're told a lie.
Mm,
So my business partner and I are completely polar opposites. He has a degree from one of the best technical institutes on the planet and is a genius and has 12 out of 10 self-belief.
yeah.
I have no higher education. I had very little self-belief. I was not a math thinker by any stretch of the imagination. He used to say stuff like, just believe in yourself more, Kev. Thank
Mm.
you. Thank you so much for that breakthrough information. I've been trying. I need help in
If
figuring
only
that
if
out.
it was that easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if only I know for you it seems so easy because you've always had self-belief, but that isn't the case for me. And when we would start to consume the same content and he'd be like, "Dude, how powerful is this message?" And I'd be like, "Brother, the if your goals don't scare you, they're not big enough message is dumb. I
Mm,
think it is dumb.
yeah.
Life is scary. Uncertainty is scary. Therapy is scary. Relationships are scary. Money is scary. The last thing you want to be afraid of is your goals. You want to run towards them, not away.
Yeah.
I can't vibe with that. I think that's terrible advice. So, if anything, sustainability is personal. And you can't compare my sustainable to Reggie's sustainable to your sustainable to somebody else's.
Facts.
It's completely personal and it's completely subjective to you. Very honestly, 7 episodes a week at this point is not hard.
Mm,
But that's because we have a team and I am my own boss and I make my own schedule. It's different, right?
right.
It's different. So I think one of the hardest things when it comes to goal setting and accomplishing goals is we have to start sometimes almost embarrassingly small.
Yeah.
And I think there's a TED talk, I don't know the name of it, but it's the 3 beliefs you must have to take a new action.
Okay.
One, you must believe it is humanly possible. Is it humanly possible to have a successful podcast? There's people that do, so it's humanly possible. Cool. Is it personally possible? Can I personally do it? I didn't have a ton of belief in that one. The third one, and I think this is where a lot of us get stuck, will it be worth it?
Mm,
That will it be worth it factor. I believe it's personally possible to chat with Reggie.
yeah.
I believe it's humanly possible. Reggie does interviews. I believe it will be worth it. Here I am. If you don't believe it'll be worth it, it would be highly illogical to take action towards it. So
Wow.
I think that's where the paradox sort of starts. If you don't believe it's personally possible, you're not going to believe it's worth it to try.
Mm.
And then you get stuck in the cycle of, well, I couldn't do that. I'm not that type of person.
I love that. And I haven't heard that talk. And the thing that comes to mind for me, especially as it relates to that last question, will it be worth it? Is kind of a nuance to that. And an addition is, am I worth it?
Mm,
Right? Am I worth being a top 100 podcast? Am I worth having the money that comes from that life? Because we sometimes are afraid of success subconsciously. We don't know it, but we're
yep.
afraid of chasing that goal that is attainable for us. And I think like that's one of the things I think drives me the most and towards things that I'm like, this seems hard as shit. But like if somebody in the world can do it, I can do it. Like if it can, like you said, to that first point, that usually motivates me enough. If it can be done, I can do it. Like I have the physical capabilities, the mental capabilities, social capabilities to do it. And it's
Mm,
a matter of putting those things together to get something done.
yeah.
And I embarrassingly small. I love that what you said about that, because what helped me get over the doubt of starting a podcast and if it would be worth it or if anybody would listen and all those things was my one of my buddies from college. His name's Festus Azili, former NBA player. He shared a story about when he was having the same doubts and thoughts around starting his podcast, and he said that his publicist came to him and was like, "What if we just made a podcast that totally bombed and nobody listened to it? Like, what is the worst that can come from that, right?" So if that's the worst, that nobody listens to it, and you get no view, like, okay, but you'll never know what the possibilities are if you don't try.
Yep.
And so, Kevin, you're inspiring the hell out of me
I
right now.
appreciate it. I appreciate that.
Seriously, I want you to brag a little bit on the podcast. So we know the number of listeners. Like, do you have stats on listeners, on partners, on like I want to know how to monetize things. Like I
Yeah.
know a lot of people also want to. So like, can you brag on some of those things?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I suppose. So the podcast industry is relatively horrendous when it comes to analytics, like
Mhm,
notoriously so. I can tell you as of today, I think we have like 1.3 million
mhm.
listeners in 175 plus countries. Do I know the rest? Not necessarily. I know we've made $1.4 million in the business or something, and we've had the
Let's
opportunity
go.
to work with a lot of people. And if anything, I think the best brag I can possibly share is every single dollar we've ever made has been in the service of helping somebody else. We
Mhm,
don't do ads, we don't do sponsors, we don't do affiliates. You could offer me all the money in the world, I'm not interested. We promote our stuff that is catered to helping out our audience. So
mm,
all of the dollars we have earned are by helping people deeper in the business accomplish more specific goals and overcome more specific problems. And if you're a podcaster out there and you're trying to monetize, I'm telling you, for 99% of us, that is the way to do it.
mhm,
The way to do it is to solve a unique problem on the podcast and then solve that problem in a more unique, specific, valuable way behind the scenes in exchange for funding. I mean, that is the way to do it. Most of us are not going to be bar stools. Like we're never going to be Barstool, right? We're never going to be Joe Rogan. We're not. That's not the approach that we're taking. Most of us have to solve a problem and then solve it better behind the scenes. And if you do that and you start conversations with your community and you add value and run the sales cycle and the follow up process, but it always has to be, how do I add more value than I ask for? I mean, that is
mhm.
business 101.
Yes. Yes. I love that. And so what would you say the problem that you all are solving is, and how do you do that outside of the podcast?
We found early on that the majority of our audience, and it has kind of switched since, but the majority of our audience was women who struggled with self belief, self worth, boundaries, and fulfillment.
Mm.
A couple bodybuilders, didn't expect that. I thought we were going to be talking to men mostly. It makes
Mhm.
sense. But it was the vulnerability piece that I think attracted women. I think that was a big piece of it. So for us, it started with one on one coaching.
Okay.
So if you're somebody who, and this was like 2019, if you're somebody who is just getting into self improvement or personal development and you don't really understand how to be consistent and you're working through some self belief and some self worth stuff, awesome. Let's jump on a call and we'll help you work through that. That evolved to group coaching, which we've done 18 rounds of, which has been great over the last few years. That evolved to podcast production company that we have now. Then that evolved in me coaching podcasters. Now we have podcast group coaching. So Alan, my business partner, works with individuals and businesses to
Mhm.
help them get unstuck and really get to the next level. And now I predominantly only work with podcasters doing the same thing. But everything we do is from like an identity approach. It's not, here are the 5 ways. I need to know who you are as a human. I need to know your limiting beliefs. Are you afraid of success? Are you afraid of failure? Do you self sabotage? Right. So,
Yeah.
whether it's personal development through the lens of how to be more successful or podcasting through the lens of personal development, everything is personal development for us.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so good. Like that's a blueprint. Like cuz so many folks, if you're listening and you want to start a podcast or you have a podcast, like listen to what he said, right? These are those tangential services that complement the work that they're doing on the
Mm,
podcast, right? You're talking about these things, you're helping people in a way. How can you extend that service to other folks?
of course.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good.
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah. I'm curious because I think as I think back through some of the story that you've told, your
Mm,
story, your personal story of achieving and success and not in fulfillment. How does, what if you make it to the number one podcast in the world, let's say, or in self-improvement, however you want to define it? How do you find the balance of knowing that that is success in as you've defined it, or or fulfillment versus still trying to find more?
I think one, understanding that success is a feeling far more than anything else. All right, success is a feeling. That's why it's so hard to explain.
Mhm.
That's part one. Part two, at this point, I'm very privileged to understand what my core values and my core beliefs are and how they either align or misalign with my core aspirations.
Mm.
That's a big piece of it. And I think the other truth is we will never arrive anyway. So even if we got to number one, it would be like I still have work to do as a podcaster. I still have work to do as a husband, as a leader, everything, right? I will always have work to do. So we always call it grateful ambition.
Mm.
I'm so grateful for everything I have. I'm grateful for the results that I have. I'm grateful for the audience, clients, everything. My body, I'm grateful for everything. And I also know I am capable
Yes.
of far more than I am currently presenting. And that's up to me to live up to my standard. I'm not saying
Mhm.
Reggie has to live up to my standard. I'm not saying you have to live to all I'm saying is I know that I'm capable of more and I will always essentially be because this is going to go on forever, right? You don't ever get to your potential. You get to a version of your potential. So I think it's that. And it's easy to stay humble in the journey when you know you're never going to win. I mean,
Mm.
I'm never going to win this game. I can get better and better and better, but there is no winning this game. There is just better and
Yeah.
more aligned and more value and more impact and all that.
Yeah, and I think something you mentioned earlier is like when you started the podcast, you felt like a kid again. So maybe
Yeah.
not winning, but you're playing. You're playing the game and you're
Yeah.
enjoying it and you have gratitude for it along the journey. I think that is such a beautiful thing cuz the destination out there wherever that is, whatever it is, right? Like if we keep trying to crawl to it, it's going to keep getting further and further
Mm.
away and it's like well, can I appreciate this spot that I'm at right now? Can I appreciate level 3 of the game? Yeah, let me appreciate that. So I
Yeah.
think that's so beautiful.
I appreciate
And this is going backwards in the arc.
it.
But you mentioned that you didn't meet your father until what, 27?
Yeah.
Where was that in the journey of you having the suicidal ideations and starting the podcast and that evolution? Where was meeting him in that whole frame?
That was before, I think that was before all of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was before all of it. Yes, I had just gone through the breakup not long before that. I was at home one day and I was going through my Facebook messages. And I didn't realize at the time that if you get a message by somebody who isn't friends with you, it goes to a separate folder. I didn't know that.
Mm.
So I was going through this folder. I was probably creeping. I was probably trying to find some love at that point.
Yeah.
But I remember seeing a message and it said, "Hey Kevin, I'm blank. I'm your father's girlfriend." And Reggie, I threw my phone on the floor and said, "No, no, 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 no." And it was from 2 years prior. So
Wow.
the message got sent 2 years prior and I never saw it. So I picked it up and I opened it and I said, "All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at this. Hey, Kevin, I'm blank. I'm your father's girlfriend. He's been seeing you on Facebook. It looks like you're doing really well. And if you would ever like the opportunity to meet, he would love that." And I remember again, I threw my phone on the floor. I fell on the floor. I started bawling my eyes out because one, I never thought this would happen. Two, I have heavily villainized this man. I mean, I said the only time I'll see him is at his funeral when I'm peeing on his grave. Like
Yeah.
I had some negative thoughts towards this man.
Mhm.
And I didn't want to do it because I was afraid. I didn't want to meet him. I was afraid. So I texted one of my friends. I said, "Hey, my dad texted me, or my dad messaged me." And they knew my story. And they said, "What? What did he say?" And I said, "He wants to meet." And they said, "Are you going to do it?" And I said, I feel like I have to. I don't want to, but I feel like this is one of those boy becomes man moments for me. I don't want to do it, but I think I have to. And they said, "Do you want me to come with you?" And I said, "No, this is something I have to do on my own." Again, I don't know how to explain it. This is just one of those things. So I text back and I say, "Yeah, let's do it. We'll meet halfway between where we live." I think we lived like 2 hours away from each other. So we'll meet in the middle. So I drive down to this diner Get there early because I'm nervous. I need to know everything here. So let me get here early. I walk in, I get a seat at a booth, and I had maybe the most humbling moment of my life. I don't know what he looks like.
Mm.
So when he gets here, I'm not going to know he's here. So he's going to have to find me. So I'm sitting at a booth facing the window and I see this guy walk by. And I just remember thinking, like, okay, that's him. I don't know how I know, just a feel, just an intuitive feeling. That's my dad.
Mhm.
All right, cool. He came in, sat down, is about as awkward as you can imagine. I mean, I'm stoic. You're not getting anything from me. You'll get no emotion. At one point, he's crying, and it's like, you're not going to get anything from me. And it was just weird. It's just, how do you catch up on 27 years of life in 27 minutes? Right.
Right.
But I took away probably three big things from that conversation. One, I had a ton of empathy.
Mm.
I had accomplished more in my 27 years of life. I was more fulfilled, even though I was miserable. I was more self aware. I had learned more about the world than this man had.
Mm.
And I felt bad. I felt bad for where he was in life. Two, it gave me forgiveness. I don't think he woke up one day and said, you know what, I'm going to try to screw this kid's life up. I think he was going through his own battles, his own struggle, and he didn't handle it as well as maybe I think I would have in his situation.
Right.
And then the third thing, it was, you have given so much privilege to him to be the villain in your story when he is not worthy of maintaining that level of power in your life.
Oof.
That was a big one for me.
Mm.
So I left that day feeling way better. I felt like I had accomplished something in life, even though I just was closing a void. I ended up seeing him 2 or 3 times after that. And then it became pretty clear pretty quickly that the way my lifestyle was, his lack of awareness of who I was becoming, it just wasn't. I mean, he would call me and then get mad at me if I didn't answer. He didn't get it. And
Yeah.
the straw that broke the back, I had put a picture of my wife up on Facebook, my wife and I on Facebook. And he commented and he said, the mustache has to go. That was all he said. The
No.
mustache has to go.
Yeah.
What are we? Read the room, sir. Sir, you need to read the room. And after
Yeah.
that, I kind of just let it die. I don't want to lead him on. Two, going back to the worth it factor, honestly, and this might sound hardcore, but this is the truth in my heart. It's not worth it for me to put in the amount of work it would take. It's just not.
Yeah.
I'm doing good. I'm fine. I'm
Yeah.
that's healed for the most part. I still have stuff to work through, obviously, but so yeah, I kind of let that die. But there's a lot of lessons that I still take with me from that, and I still struggle. I do, very honestly and vulnerably. I still struggle with certain men. You're
Mhm.
very humble and you're very centered. So like you and I were two peas in a pod.
Mhm.
There's certain times I'll go on podcasts that are hosted by men, and I just it's like I
Yeah.
want to fawn or I want to pretend I'm somebody I'm not.
Yeah.
So I'm still working through that, obviously. But yeah, that was one of the most powerful things I ever did, for sure.
God. Man, thank you for sharing
Of
that.
course.
Thank you. That, like, it touched me. That the liberation that I could sense
Mm,
in recognizing that, that relationship just isn't for me, right?
yeah.
You gave it a shot and you did what you could, but you recognize for your own sanity and health and livelihood and wealth or well-being that it just wasn't a relationship. And I think that takes so much courage. Um, like it helps me because damn man, that's real.
Mm,
I don't have a relationship with my father. And it's a different scenario where for the first 8 years of my life, he was in and out, like in the streets, and didn't ever really have a true relationship with my mom, so we never really bonded that closely. And then at 8, he went to prison and was in prison for 7 years, got out for 9 months, went back for another year, and then has been out ever since. And when he got out, that's when we developed a relationship. We started to be, man, we started to be like best friends and more like brothers than father son. and some situational things happened to where true colors were shown, and now we're no longer in communication.
Mm,
And uh wow, about a year ago this time was like the last time I saw him. And that was after maybe 4 years of not seeing him. And it was random at Walmart picking up fishing equipment, and I saw his wife, he had recently at the time gotten married, and I'd known her. She's my brother's mom, and so like I said hello to her, was cordial, and gave her a hug, and then for the first time in 5 years, I think 4 or 5 years at that point, I go, "What's up, old man?"
mm.
Couldn't even look at me, didn't say anything, and I was just like, "All right, well, I've tried, and I've not tried. I wouldn't say I've tried because I recognize the boundary that needs to be set, but I've extended like the grace and the empathy and forgiveness, and knowing that that's not a relationship that I need in my life. And so hearing you tell that story and sensing, I could feel it in like the energy that you were speaking through the microphone, the liberation, it gives me some peace of mind. So
I
thank you
appreciate
for
you
that,
sharing
bro.
that with me.
Yeah, bro.
I
This has
appreciate you
been
sharing that.
I don't think like I think early on in the first couple episodes I was more vulnerable about my personal story. And now you just brought something out of me in and yeah, so
I'm
um
glad I could. I'm glad I
yeah,
could.
man.
I can end that story on a high note though, at least.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
The first time I ever went to my dad's house, he gave me a bushel of weed to take home. He's like, "Hey man, you smoke weed?" I was like, "Yeah, occasionally." He gave me like a whole like the whole arm of a plant to take home in a bag. Like, okay, it's just weird. Just a weird relationship, you know? Just super strange.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that. I love that. Man, I gotta meet Alan. I want to meet you guys.
Oh,
Like
he would
see
love
y'all's
you.
dynamic too, man. Cause I bet that's amazing. I bet that's amazing. So I'm something you mentioned that I don't want to overlook is just the humility and humbleness that it means that you feel a level of comfort with me.
I do.
Cause I know the feeling with men, and I know like I have I don't know what your feelings are like, but I have a feeling with men that I sometimes it's hard to trust. It's hard to let them in. It's hard to be close. And so I appreciate you with that. And
Of course.
I feel the same way. So thank you
Of
for being
course.
here.
I mirror it back to you. I
Yeah.
think going back to something you said at the beginning, a lot of what you were mentioning, the fears around vulnerability, they're not about you, they're about other people. And
Yeah.
I think that speaks volumes.
Yeah.
If you don't feel like you can be vulnerable with the people in your life, you're essentially saying you don't feel like you can be authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's
And
I'm
that's
not saying
hard.
you gotta change everything, but that's
Yeah.
there's something there potentially.
Yeah. And that's hard, a hard life to live if you can't be
Yes.
authentic. It
Yes.
eats away at you.
100%.
Oh man, Kevin, I could talk to you all day, but
Same,
before
brother.
we
Same.
wrap up, I got a fill in the blank segment. So
Okay,
you
let's
let me
go.
know again the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
Vulnerability makes me feel blank.
Later.
Lighter, nice. Consistency to me is blank.
Everything.
Mhm. My biggest superpower is blank.
The ability to suffer long after it's constructive.
Wow. Expand on that.
I was never the smartest. I was never the best. The thing that I had for whatever reason was I will just suffer. I think that's a muscle that I have. I expect very little out of life. I don't feel like I'm entitled to almost anything. So I think yeah, I never was the smartest. I never was the most skilled. I never had the brightest future, but I'll just stay in the cold for as long as I can, and I think most people end up leaving before I do. So there's something to be said about staying power. I mean, when it comes to success, if we just podcast longer than anybody else, the odds of us being successful are pretty high, all things considered, right? So
Yeah.
just grit it out. There's something to
Mm,
that.
that's dope. If I could tell my younger self anything or one thing, it would be blank.
It's a mix of it's not your fault and you're way more malleable than you think. You just don't get it yet.
Can you speak that same message to a listener who may find themselves in the same embodiment of what younger you felt at that time? Can you speak directly to them?
I know you're out there right now and you see people that have things that you don't have and you assume they're different than you, and that is just not true. They have done different work. They've learned different lessons. They've tapped into different mentors. They're not built any different than you, most likely. They've just done things that you haven't done yet. So there's so much room for you to grow. There's so much room for you to expand. We just haven't done it yet. And we're only seeing the results of what we've created so far, but that doesn't mean we don't have results decades from today that are going to be way more wonderful.
Beautiful. And lastly, I, Kevin, am living for blank.
Purpose.
What's your purpose?
To be the type of person I needed when I was sitting on the edge of the bed. That is every interaction, every DM I respond to, I try to do it from that lens. I don't want to lose sight of how blessed and privileged I am to live this life. And
Mm.
if I lose sight of that, then this has all been for nothing.
Wow. Man, that's a mic drop right there, y'all. Like, Kevin, thank you so much for sharing your heart, opening your heart and sharing it with us today. I appreciate you so much. Are there any final thoughts, any things that you wish I had asked, any things you want to share, promote, anything like that?
No, man, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. It's always, you never know what you're going to get when you jump on a podcast episode, and you're wonderful, and I appreciate you giving me the space, and I appreciate what you're doing in the world, and you're leading a wave that needs to be surfed, and I'm grateful you're surfing it for sure.
I appreciate
Of
that.
course, brother.
And you started the same way you ended with appreciation. You got this appreciation sandwich. I don't know if you noticed that, but that's really dope.
I appreciate this isn't about me at the end of the day. Like, this is bigger than me, it's bigger than you,
Yeah,
so the fact that we get to be a part of it is wonderful.
absolutely. Kevin, how can people reach you and Alan and Next Level University? How can they contact you
I
all?
appreciate it. Just search Next Level University. We're on all the podcast platforms. We're on YouTube and all that. My handle on Instagram, it'll make sense, is Never Quit Kid. So
Okay,
that is my handle on Instagram. And then my email is Kevin at nextleveluniverse.com. Questions, comments, concerns, podcasters, whatever I can do to add value, please let me know.
man. Thank you, Kevin. And I
Of
hope that
course.
many people reach out and take you up on that. But with all the things that you could be doing and all the places you could be, I appreciate you being here with me,
Of course.
embracing vulnerability.
I appreciate you having me, brother.
Thank you for joining us in another episode of Vulnerability Muscle. If you've enjoyed these conversations around vulnerability, please consider leaving a review. Your feedback not only motivates us to continue to do the work that we do, but it allows other people to witness the power of vulnerability. Share your thoughts on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, or wherever you're listening from. And don't forget to spread the word. You can follow us at Vulnerability Muscle on Instagram and me personally at Reggie D Ford across all platforms. Visit vulnerabilitymuscle.com for additional resources and support. And remember, embracing vulnerability is not a sign of weakness. It is the source of your greatest strength. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but most workouts are. So keep flexing that vulnerability muscle.